Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. I am so excited to have the infamous Nedra Tawwab here. Nedra, how are you?
I am well. What am I infamous for?
You put boundaries on the map in one of the most important ways.
Yes.
And I'm so excited now to chat with you. I mean, you've written Drama Free since you wrote Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And a lot of your work is all about healthy relationships. And I'm really excited about your upcoming book because I feel like obviously this podcast is called Nuance Needed. So we get into the nuances of mental health. Yes. And your new book is called The Balancing Act, which is all about like the nuances of relationships, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's get into it. I love that.
So why don't you start, Nedra, by telling us what inspired you to write this book?
Well, yourself included. I think we were OGs of social media. And when we got into that space, there was just such this thirst for information. And I got on there and I was talking about boundaries and relationships. And after a while, I realized people are taking some things out of context.
Mm-hmm.
People are creating rigid boundaries, which I talk about in Set Boundaries, Find Peace, as not a healthy thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the distancing that we're doing, and in some cases where a conversation is needed, I think there needs to be some clarification.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm starting to see with some of my clients is how their isolation is coming to bite them in the butts, how their rigid boundaries have created walls around them, how some of them are suffering from poor social skills. And we're now talking about some very basic things like making friends. I mean, I've worked in schools before as a social worker, and that's what I did in groups with the little kids. Like, okay, let's talk about being nice. And when a friend, I'm doing this work now. Right? Yeah. Because we don't know how to maintain. We don't know how to meet people. We don't know how to connect. We don't know what's toxic and what's normal. We are confused about if a person has, this attachment style, do they have it forever? Like, there's just a lot of confusion. Like, we have a lot of information, and I think in some cases we're using it to our detriment, not to our advantage.
Totally. I was doing some research just about the amount of content we all consume lately. And I found this statistic that, especially with like the algorithm changes on social media, we are consuming like 4 to 6 times more information now than we were just 5 years ago because of how quick everything comes, because of the way the algorithms have changed, because of the way that news is now like integrated in our feeds. And it's just, like, there's such a cost to our mental health, even of just taking in so much information. Like you were saying, very few people 5 years ago knew what boundaries were. They didn't understand attachment styles or love languages. And now it's almost like, and I'm interested in your take on this. From my perspective, it's almost like all of this information has become, instead of a place to start, to keep exploring, like a place of, oh, this might be my attachment style. How can I bring that into my relationship and work from there? I feel like sometimes it's like, well, this is my relationship style. This is who I am. Full stop. The work is over almost.
Yeah. We need people. We need them at all levels. We need our neighbors. We need associates. We need people who annoy us. We need close family connections. We need best friends. We need friends we haven't talked to in a while. And I think we're getting away from that. And what I'm seeing is more loneliness because we have boundaried our way into narcissism by trauma and fire of childhood wounds. And I mean, I could just roll in any word there. We have done so much stuff that we haven't figured out like how to connect. I saw you post something, I believe it was yesterday, I'm not sure, but you posted something about a friend calling to talk about, what's been happening in their life, and someone's saying, oh my gosh, you're trauma dumping on me. I don't have time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think trauma dumping is a thing. I mean, I can name 3 people in my life off the top of my head. If they called, I wouldn't answer their call because all they do is trauma dump.
Yeah.
95% of the conversations are trauma dumping. I think those people exist for sure. Is someone every once in a while wanting to talk about some difficult stuff, trauma dumping? No. Yeah. That's sharing information. And that's what we do in relationships. When I ask a friend, like, how was it when you went back home? I'm prepared to hear about the brother who I know she has an issue with. I'm prepared to hear about the father who, doesn't act appropriately at the thing. I'm prepared to hear about that. That's not all she talks about. Clearly, she loves fashion. Clearly, we watch the same TV shows. But every once in a while, some stuff happens in her life. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to listen about it. Yeah. And sometimes that stuff happens more intensely than other times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a great point about how you zoomed out and even talked about what we might talk about with someone in a conversation. Because maybe there is that level of intensity that someone is talking to someone about, or they're sharing, or something difficult happened in their life, doesn't mean that's the only place the conversation is going to go. Like, there's going to be more lighthearted moments. There might be an opportunity for you to share as well. Like when we're talking about trauma dumping, it's often lack of consent. It's one-sided. It's out of context versus, like connection, supporting someone in a broader conversation and even just in a broader relationship, right? Like how much you share with someone, which I'm sure you get into in your book, is going to depend on the context of how close you are to that person and the level of trust you have with them.
How close you are to that person and level of trust. And that's important because there are some scenarios where people feel like, which I talk about in my book, they feel like they can trauma dump because you are their sibling.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not appropriate. And I think when we have people in our lives who, sometimes people give us an indication that they're tired of our stuff, we have to listen.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about one example from the book where, the person says, you need to find somebody else to talk to. So I'm giving you an out here. Go get some friends, go find some other folks. But I feel like I am your only source of support always. So being good in our relationships is also listening, because maybe you are trauma dumping. I'm not saying, I think it happens. I know some trauma dumpers. Yeah, maybe you are trauma dumping. However, when people are giving you that information, what do you do with it? If you continue to act in the way you've been acting, I think boundaries are appropriate. I think some distance is appropriate. So I think it depends on the situation. It depends on the experiences in the relationship. But every here and there, and someone's having a moment, we can't consider it that. So, really this next book is to figure out what boundaries, really mean in our lives, where our relationships can go further and deeper. Also, how we can categorize people. Because sometimes we have thought that someone is our person and they are not. All along, it was just my neighbor next door.
Yeah.
And I've been treating my neighbor next door like a best friend. And they have given me indications that they're just my neighbor next door. So each of these relationships have different rules and regulations, and we have to respect the boundaries of what that relationship is. And sometimes without releasing them. There are some people who are terrible listeners. Doesn't mean they're bad people. They're probably fun and funny. I know a lot of folks I have a good laugh with. Boy, I wouldn't tell them anything. I know it would go.
Yeah.
I would tell them anything.
Yeah.
But I don't want them out my life because guess what they offer? Laughter. They offer something. Yeah. So it's I don't have a need to cut everybody out because of their worst quality. I just have to figure out how to work with that person.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what we kind of hit on of like, we need different relationships in our life. We need more than one person, because there are different things that different people are going to offer. And one thing I've been seeing in my work lately, and I'm curious if you have too, is there is almost this pressure, I think, on a few people to sort of be their best friend, be their person, very high standards sometimes for friendship. And then when someone falls short, it becomes sometimes like this friendship breakup. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if that full relationship needed to end. Obviously, there are exceptions if this person was very unhealthy, if you guys weren't getting along, if there were breaches of trust. But I think about myself, I'm sober. I was a very different person, obviously, in my addiction. And I put so much pressure on the few relationships in my life. And I also caused a lot of pain to people. And there were people who tried to give me those signals of just like, hey, I think you need some more support. And they were trying to help me. But in my place, because I had kind of put them on a pedestal and put so much pressure on them, it felt like a betrayal. And sometimes I want to say to people, it's not always that people are bad or wrong or things like that. It's that sometimes we just need to spread out who we're getting support and connection from, and allow that in different times of your life, those relationships may shift and change.
Yeah. Very often I find that we don't have enough people. And that's a huge problem when you have 1, 2, 3 people and you have needs. And I'm not even going to say a lot of needs, but needs. You may need some more people. And that requires you to get uncomfortable and meet some folks or tap into the folks that you already know and do some asking. It's not always, oh my gosh, I don't have anyone. Sometimes it's just untapped potential. We haven't reached back enough to say, you know what, this person at work, every holiday, they know that I don't have family in town and they invite me to something. Every year I say no. I just watched an episode of St. Dennis. And it's a spoofy kind of show like The Office, but in a medical setting. And there's one nurse who has a birthday party every year and she invites this doctor and he says no. But this year she doesn't invite him. And he's like, wait a minute, I don't get an invite? And so he starts making up all these stories about how fun he is and just trying to go out his way to be invited. And so she invites him and he says, oh, no, I can't come. But he's like, I appreciate being invited every year. It makes me feel included. I just want to be offered that thing. But, that's a silly example. But perhaps there are instances where there is a person who is calling, hey, do you want to do this thing? We're like, no, because we're only looking to the 1 or 2 people that we have to do that thing. We have to open our arms and accept people in and allow people, sometimes outside our family, sometimes outside of our best friendships or our partners, to love on us, to be there for us, to provide that support.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think about also how, friendships change like during our lives? Because I think that's something that people forget about too. And things like, I think we don't allow for people maybe to change, and we don't allow for relationships to change sometimes. And I wonder if that's also something that you're thinking about in how you talk in the book.
Yeah, I think over time, there are situations that pull us away from some folks. If you live in the same neighborhood as someone and then they move away, you may not see them as often as you did. Does that mean they're not your friend anymore? No, but you may not see them 3 times a week. You might see them monthly now. So maybe you no longer have that need for that level of connection, or you find some other people who you can see on a more regular basis. When people become parents, your time becomes more limited. So it shifts who's in your orbit. And it doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, I don't want to be friends with Amanda anymore. But it's like, you know what? I didn't sleep last night. I don't want to sit on the phone for an hour. I'd rather take a nap.
Yeah.
So it's not a reflection of how this person feels about you. It's really the season of life. I noticed that in the pandemic, some of my relationships shifted because I was no longer driving to work. And so that talk time that I had in the car, it went away for some people. And to be quite frank, I haven't regained it. Yeah, because I still work from home.
It's amazing how when you work from home, you're like, I'm going to have so much more time, and somehow it just fills.
Well, part of my issue with that is I do not like to talk around. I don't like to talk on the phone around my children because they're either chiming in or they're loud.
Yes.
Right. So it just kills my ability to talk. So I like to talk in the car or when I'm out and about.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, for some folks where it was like, that was my Monday, 8 a.m. friend when I drive to work. This was my Tuesday person. I haven't recaptured that. It's just been like lost. And now it's just like a text here and there like, hey, just checking on you. Still good? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's sending of a Christmas card at this point. But, I do think that when this stage of life of, being busy with work and, traveling and
Yeah.
actively raising kids and partnering, I'm going to have a retirement. And guess what? I'll be right back with those friends.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a little pause. It's like us going away to college, different schools, right? Like, we'll be back together. It's fine, guys. we'll make this time up. So yeah, we have to recognize the season we're in and the season that other people may be in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love thinking about the metaphor as like going to college and getting back together. I think that's something people can really relate to and also understand in terms of taking some of that pressure off, maybe. I know you also talk in your work and in your book about enmeshment. How does that sort of fit into the balancing act?
Well, you're a therapist and you know this. Sometimes I hear people talking and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like enmeshment.
Yeah.
If it's not a problem for you, it's not a problem. It
Yeah.
doesn't become an issue until one of the folks wants a little bit of space or they have a different idea or they want to change something. So even enmeshment is not a bad thing until it is.
Yeah.
Same thing with codependency. I think codependency gets a bad rap, but for every person I know who has a partner in their codependency, I think, wow, that's beautiful for them. Who else will give them $20 to buy drugs? I'm happy they have you. Who else will let them stay in their basement? Who else will get their car fixed? That, is really the way that you're trying to love on this person. I don't have the capacity for it. I don't want to be codependent with them. But if that's a dynamic that you're in with this person, it's good they have you. Boy, is it good they have you. They don't have me, but they have you.
I mean, I think that's a really refreshing perspective of different things work for different people.
Different things work for different people.
There are some couples, I wouldn't want that relationship necessarily, but it really
we do
everything
everything
for them.
together.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, this man better be happy we're in the same bed. Okay.
Hey, I have the opposite where I spend a lot of time with my husband during the day and we sleep in separate beds because you know what?
Okay.
We're too light of sleepers. So whatever works.
I am a light sleeper. He is not. All jokes aside, I love sleeping with my husband. But, we're not together during the day. And that is a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a gift. So we have our times in the evening and at night. But if that's what you want to do in your relationship, be together all day, be together all night, and it's not a problem, fine. No enmeshment problem for me. But when you start to want something different, that's when it comes up as a challenge in a relationship. And what I talk about in the book is centering yourself in that. If you are the person who's like, I want some friends. I want to have a Galentine's Day, but I'm always here with my person. You have to advocate for that and let that person know, hey, it isn't about you. It's really about me. I have a new need. And my need is for companionship with friends right now. I want us to remain connected, but you will see me, going to dinner with my friends or, having a Galentine's Day party or going to a concert here and there. It's not a reflection of something we have to have those conversations with people because sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, they no longer love me. They've shifted this dynamic, blah, blah, blah. And it's really, my needs have changed. My needs have changed. Often needs change just because they do. Because we grow as people, we see something that we want or don't want. And when that happens, we have a conversation. We don't, I think what we think needs to happen is, I need to avoid this person. I got to leave the relationship. I got to divorce this person because they want to be in mesh. Have we talked about it? Because maybe they can be in this relationship with you in a different way. Maybe it's a new type of relationship that you have with them. It requires a conversation.
Yeah. It sounds like you're talking about sort of how do we evaluate what works in this relationship? How can we allow the relationship to change and communicate that? Because I agree. I think avoidance is a big issue that has become something that people have been leaning into more and more sometimes. And sometimes it's because of just fear of the conversation.
Yeah, and I get it. Hard conversations suck. But what a trick for me is personally, I like to have hard conversations as soon as possible, so I don't have to think about it, because the thinking about it is much worse than the actual conversation. So when I have something hard to say to someone, it's like, let me call them right now. Like, I don't even want to think about it. Just want to get it out the way. So sometimes when things come up for work and I have something hard to say and it's like, oh, I got to wait till next week, that meeting, it haunts me. It's like, I want to call them right now and just say what I have to say. So when possible, I'm like, just getting it out. It feels so much better. And very often it doesn't go as bad as we thought it would.
Yeah. So often it's so much worse in our heads. And then we're dealing with all of the anxiety leading up to it. And then, right, we're imagining things that will go wrong. And then by the time we arrive at that conversation, we kind of have all this baggage about what we think will happen. And it's harder, I find, sometimes to actually meet the person in what's happening rather than bringing all of your stuff into it.
Yeah.
All right. If you're listening to this and feeling like something is landing, like you keep hearing yourself in what Sam and I are talking about, I want you to pay attention to that, because when that happens, it's not a coincidence. And if you've been thinking about therapy, but you've really had not great luck, you want someone who gets it, not just clinically, but personally, I want to share with you about my practice, Therapy for Women Center. All of our therapists have actually been through the things we treat, whether that's trauma, anxiety, eating disorders, parenthood. When you're sitting there and talking about hard things, you know that the person on the other side really gets it. That's really why I started my practice, because I was sick of going to therapists who didn't fully understand the things that they were treating. At this point, we have over 30 therapists, and we actually hand match you to the right one based on what you're going through. And if we don't get the match right, we'll waive your intake fee and help you switch to another therapist in the practice. We really feel like finding the right therapist shouldn't feel like another thing to white knuckle through. When you reach out to us, you can talk to our intake coordinator, you can email us, you can text us. We'd love to hear from you. We serve 42 states online, in person in the Philadelphia area, but right now we have immediate openings in North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and many more, South Carolina, Ohio. We'd love to support you if you're looking for a new therapist. Reach out to us at therapyforwomencenter.com, or you can text us at 215-847-6749. I wanted to talk a little bit about people using the term the one and how that kind of interplays with what we're talking about with enmeshment, expectations, relationships, all of that.
Well, when people typically use the one, they have determined that there is a sole individual out of the billions of people on the planet who is destined, determined, ordained for them, which is beautiful if that person is treating you well.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But if they are not treating you well and you got a little monster on your hands, and your monster, the one for you, is just like a little gremlin, that is tough to witness. It is tough to witness. And I think what we have to be aware of, the person determining who the one is, it's us. And if I determine it, guess what I could do? Undetermine it. If you are the only person for me, you're not anymore. You're also not anymore. I've changed my mind.
Yes.
The person for me would not treat me like this. Or maybe our timing is off. Maybe it is the one. This is not the timing. We're supposed to be together when we're 85. And here we are, 26, trying to make it work. I'm going to come back in 60 years because we need some time to be the one. It's not right now, because you're not going to mistreat me for 40 years and then, oh, You the one. No. And so I definitely believe that we have connections with people. I've felt it in romantic relationships. I felt it with family members. Like there are some cousins where I'm like, in every lifetime, I want you.
Yeah.
Every lifetime. You know, there are some friends where I've met them and it's like this like this instant like pull. Like I get it. Like there are some people like when you're dating somebody, it's like I have never sweat like this. Oh my God, the way I just felt electricity in my hand. Like I get it. Like all of that stuff is real and we can trust that. And we also need to trust that when someone is mistreating us or using us, abusing us, that we can also change our minds. There may be, maybe there's not electricity with the next person, but there is respect and love and care. And so I'm not against, I don't want to say, oh, there's no such thing as a soulmate. There's not the one. But when I see people being in unhealthy situations with the justification of this is my person, it's like your person is not treating you well. Do they know they're your person? Like if everything aligned for them to be with you, this is how they treat you. Yeah. So, I get it. And I think also we have to reframe that and not get stuck in wording that allows us to be in unhealthy situations.
Totally. It's similar to what I was kind of saying about when you have that like best friend. I think too, we put these people sometimes on pedestals or there's just a lot of expectations. And sometimes those are explicit expectations that people are not living up to. Like if you're in a romantic relationship, I think there are things that you are expecting and hoping from that relationship, like basic respect and, monogamy, maybe if that's something that's important for you, things like that. But yeah, it's sometimes we also have this pressure, I think, on ourselves that keeps us stuck in relationships that don't work for us, that are mistreating us. And then we feel powerless because we've decided, like you said, that this is the one, this is the best friend. And I love how you just say, we can also change our minds. We can decide that the evidence, right, of someone being our best friend or the one should be, how we get along, how we're treated, how we feel around that person.
I can think of several best friends that I've had. And at that time, they were absolutely the best. And then I went to 5th grade and that person was the best. And then I went to 7th and 8th grade and that person for those 2 years was the best. So it's like they were the best at that time. And maybe that time frame for some people, it's 20 years. Maybe it's 30 years. I certainly have people I've had close connections with since, high school. But, I think sometimes it is the best for that time.
And I think that's the nuance. That is what it is. And it can change and be different. Similar to, I think, how you were saying boundaries are important and healthy, and we all need boundaries. And I think what sometimes we forget is like other people deserve and need boundaries too. And that's the balancing act, right?
Yes. And I think it could change and be different and still be. Just because someone is not your best friend anymore. I have an example of that in the book where there are 2 young ladies. They're very, very close, college roommates, get along great. They go into the world. And one of them, she finds a new friend group through work and through other things. And she just really loves these people. And, she meets someone, she's going to get married. And guess what? One of these newer friends, she's like, this is my maid of honor. I was about to say my best lady. It's the top of the year, y'all. My brain is with me. This is my maid of honor. And the other friend was very offended. Well, I've known you this. And this is a common dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Like I've known you this amount of time. And, that person was really upset. And I get it. Like you have this expectation, like if I'm your best friend, I experienced that when I got married. If I'm your best friend, I am also your maid or matron of honor. And it's like, this person is more organized though.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it. Like this person is really organized. Like you don't even like these duties. This
Yeah,
is
you don't
gonna
want to
be
make a speech.
You don't want to make a speech. You're not a public speaker. This is where my head goes. But once you tell somebody, I love making speeches,
Yes.
it's like, I remember you calling me crying. But okay,
Yes.
if any of my friends are listening, most of them are married, but if they are not, no pressure to make me a matron or maid of honor. I am fine being an audience member.
Yeah.
And I will do so much of the other stuff for you. I'll help set up and all sorts of things, but I don't need a title.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I think that's such a good example of just expectations, how things happen. And it's so hard, like you hear this as a therapist too, when you hear the person who has been not slighted, but they're the person who's disappointed. Like you can have all that compassion and empathy for them. And I think this goes back to it's like the person, like taking things personally that can really keep us stuck.
Yeah. And I think about this, like, how do we continue relationships after a hard thing is said? Because I think a lot of relationships end because the person can't tolerate a hard thing. So they end the relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you said, I can't be your maid of honor, we're not friends anymore. It's like, whoa, wait, how did we get there? I said, you can't be the maid of honor. I didn't say we're not friends anymore. But that happens quite often. If you say you don't want to sleep in the same bedroom as me, we can't be married. It's like, we can't be married? we got to get a divorce? Mm-hmm. So it's these things that we come up with where it's like, this ends the relationship. Like, I feel comfortable not because I get any pleasure out of it, but because there is peace on the other side. I feel comfortable saying hard things to people when necessary. And when I've said hard things to people, they have ended the relationship. Mm-hmm. It wasn't me. I didn't say, because of this hard thing, I'm done with you. But because of how they perceive the hard thing, instead of sitting with it, their ego said, I have to end this relationship with you because you can't say this to me, which is wild. It's like, and I'm the sort of person, if you end a relationship with me, we're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and sometimes people, well, I didn't mean it that way. Well, you said it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You said it. And so we have to be careful about how we withstand and tolerate people saying hard things to us. I'm a parent and my kids say hard things to me all the time. And what they'll say now is, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but do you have to walk me? So they're like, I don't want you to walk me into school. And I'm like, You know what? And you know what I always say? Don't worry about hurting my feelings. I want you to be able to say what you need to say. Please speak with me. To me in honesty, if you think I don't smell good, if you don't want me to walk you somewhere, if I'm talking too loud, I want you to tell me. If you don't want me to go somewhere, say these things to me, because I don't want our relationship to end because I couldn't talk to her. Yes, you could. Mm-hmm. And you know what I did? I went home and cried in my pillow because my feelings were so hurt. And then I called you. Mm-hmm. And I got over it. Yeah. But that's emotional maturity.
Yes.
A friend being able to say to you, hey, girl, our relationship is actually not what it was 7 years ago. And I've met a friend who I hang out with daily. We go get pedicures. There's a movie. Is it Bridesmaids?
I was thinking about Bridesmaids this whole time.
Yes, this is a movie. Yeah, I have found a friend who I have a lot in common with. Mm-hmm. And, just allowing a person to have that and sitting with our hurt feelings. What we have the opportunity to do is get closer if we want that. How do I get our relationship back to where it was? Because maybe this is the first time that I am starting to understand we're not where I thought we were. And that's what that shift does when someone says to you, hey, I don't want you to be the godparent. No, I don't want you to be the maid of honor or best man. I don't want you to come to this thing. It's like, it's information. What do you want to do with that information? Oh, they didn't invite me to their party. How close are you to them? That's an indication If you want to be closer, you have an opportunity to build, to build, to build, to build.
I love that you've shifted this to like, it's like, as I'm hearing you say that, it's like empowering, right? When someone comes to you with a hard piece of information, yes, it's hard. Your body is going to react how it's going to react, but you have power in this situation too of how you respond to this, your ability to sit in the, distress tolerance a lot of times of how scary it is maybe to be in conflict and choose to lean into it and choose to repair the relationship, work through it, or you can choose to leave. But I love the reframing of, as I'm thinking about this in friendship breakups, right? It's not just someone does something and someone leaves. It's which does happen if people aren't talking about it. But when someone brings up something to you that's hard, I think a lot of people avoid and physically feel like they don't have, and some of this is practice too. Like we have to practice saying hard things. We have to practice sitting in someone saying hard things because your body is going to, do all kinds of things. Your heart rate's going to go up. You may feel sick. You may feel shaky, but that doesn't mean that you can't tolerate it and actually have the conversation.
Yeah. It makes me think of, are we trying to get people to court us? Because I think about this when you have a conversation with someone and they're like, I haven't talked to you in a while. My instant thought is, you haven't called me either. And it doesn't mean we haven't thought of each other, but it's a two-way street, right? I haven't called you. You haven't called me. I don't even think we need to really place blame here because we have both actually been doing the same thing. And so if I want to talk to you more, like if I really want to pursue this connection, I'll call you more. If you want to talk to me more, you'll call me more. And then typically when we get in that mode with people, things pick up traction in the relationship, right? But if neither of us do it, we are both saying something. But if there's an expectation for one person to do it, it's a little unbalanced. And so we have to think about, if this relationship is not what I want it to be, what can I do on my end? Not calling out what this other person isn't doing or what they need to do more of. What can I do on my end? Maybe once they see my effort, they can reciprocate. They have a choice there. But to assume that people have to do all of the work to keep us engaged, it can be a bit unfortunate. It can also, show up in how your relationships play out with people. Our relationships, they teach us a lot about who we are and how we relate to people. When I hear people talk about their breakups or when I hear people talk about their friend endings, I'm looking for patterns. And I love when clients sit in front of me and I hear the pattern before they see it. And I'm just like, another one bites the dust. And they bit the dust for the same thing the last one bit the dust for. Is no one watching this? Like, are we not seeing this pattern? But we don't need a therapist necessarily. Please go to therapy. We don't need a therapist necessarily to point that out. But it's important for us to be the own pattern recognizers in our life. When my relationship ended with so-and-so, why? When my relationship ended with so-and-so, why? Is it because I can't take hard information or she said to me or he said to me? We get so, and here's the thing that I also mentioned in the book. I hate when people say, and in the book, but I'm doing it. But in the book, it behooves us to go back and tell people we were wrong. Last year, you said that really hard thing to me. I was not in the space to receive it. I've thought about it for 265 days and 5 hours. And you know what I've now decided? You were right. You were right on this. Within the 6 hour of the 265 days, I had my awakening. And I said, oh, Amanda was right. And I could not receive it. I was not in the space. It took me listening to podcasts and watching TV and blah, 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 blah. And now I get it. You were right. Or that really hurt me when you said that. And I just couldn't take it. And whether it was true for you or not, it really hurt me. And my reaction to that was to give you the silent treatment, shut you out. Apologies, it doesn't always mean saying I'm sorry necessarily. It can also mean noticing what didn't go right. And I think we fail at that. A lot of relationships, if you just tried an apology, it's like, oh my gosh, all could be well. But so often we get in our own way and we're like, they're wrong. They didn't know what they was talking about. You just have to listen. Today I was saying something to a friend. I was talking about my daughter. I said, oh my gosh, every time she meets somebody who she's met before, she's like, I don't remember them. She says it's so fast. I say it's so embarrassing, right? Because it's like she gives it no thought. My friend was like, you do the same thing. I said, oh, dang, it's hereditary. I didn't even say she was wrong. I said, dang, it's hereditary. So as soon as you be like, you remember Lisa? Nope. That's what I do. Oh my gosh. I said, me and my baby got it. It's in our bloodline. We got another cycle to break. I got to break the cycle of not knowing people. So now I will try when you say, do you remember so-and-so? I'm going to think for 5 minutes. I want to give it my best thoughts. But I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. I love that. There's so much power in it. And when we get overly focused, I think, on the words being perfect of apologizing and who's right and who's wrong, like you said, we miss those opportunities for connection and repair. Repair's the secret sauce, isn't it?
I think so. I think that might be what they put in those. What's the secret sauce in McDonald's sauce? Maybe it's repair. Maybe we've been eating repair, and that's why we love those Big Macs.
Oh, well, this was so wonderful to have you on, Nedra, and chat with you. Where can people find more about you, your book, all of that stuff?
Yes, the book that I referred to so much is The Balancing Act, and it will be in all bookstores. Please support independent books. My other books, Set Boundaries, Find Peace, Drama Free. You can also find those in your local bookstore, wherever you buy books. And the people can find me on my website at nedratawwab.com. If you just put in NEDR, I promise I'll pop up. Because my name, right? Same for social media, NEDRATAWWAB. I will pop up. But yes, check out my website and check me out on social media.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.